Hey guys, Technomentary here with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing the iPhone 12 Pro in 2022 and if this phone is still worth buying in 2022. A couple things to note about the iPhone 12 Pro if you're going to be looking to buy it, and finally compare with the latest and the greatest iPhone 13 Pro and let you guys know what you need to know if you're going to be either considering buying a 13 Pro or 12 Pro, since most of the time both of these phones are going to be pretty much head-to-head in terms of features and in terms of comparison. Now, before we dive into today's video, if you guys are new to our channel, we do a lot of tech news, reviews, and giveaway, so make sure that like and subscribe. But also, if you guys are looking to get discounted iPhone like the iPhone 12 Pro here, make sure you guys check out the links in the description section. So as you can see here in my hand here, I'm holding the 12 Pro here, which is in the gold color. Now you also have other colors that you can choose from. You got the silver and of course the specific blue that comes with it, and that's a unique color. And of course these colors that you have are a couple finishes that are base standard for the iPhone Pro lineup here. Now when you look at this phone, it was released back in October of 2020. Now that seems like a long time ago, but it's actually been about a year and a couple months or so. So if you're thinking this phone is old, well, it's not really old. It's just that Apple releases a phone every year, and sometimes even midway 6 months or so, which the iPhone SE, which we recently announced and are going to be available pretty much soon. So the iPhone 12 Pro here now has a really good display here, as you can see here when we go with this bright nib that comes with it, because it's a 6.1 inch display. Now the resolution on this phone is a massive 2532 by 1170 pixel resolution here. The one thing that you might be looking in details when you're comparing to the 13 Pro is that it only has about 60 hertz versus 120 hertz refresh rate on the 13 Pro here. Now, other thing about this phone is the hardware that it packs. It packs that A14 Bionic chip. Again, that A14 Bionic chip is no joke. It is pretty powerful for a smartphone. Now, when you do some smart testing on other devices, the A14 Bionic chip, and Apple definitely knows how to design their hardware. It does definitely perform well when it comes to multitasking, playing your most favorite game simply, or just using all of your social media app or all of your productivity tool. It can definitely get the job done for you, and even more if you're looking to use it as a streaming device for your music, your video, and all of that and much more here. So talking about the iPhone 12 Pro here, the other thing we want to talk about is the camera here going into 2022. Now, if you think about camera, like most iPhones, Apple does a really exceptional job when it comes to camera, whether it be for just taking general day-to-day picture or pro raw picture, or simply portrait mode to really enhance your photography. You'll find that Apple does that really well with its camera, and there hasn't been much improvement in terms of slight adjustment to the camera, like the bigger cameras on the 13 Pro versus the 12 Pro, that might make a difference for you. But for a regular user, the camera, those triple 12 megapixel camera definitely gets the job done for you, and to a level it's almost professional grade in a lot of ways. And it does have that front camera as well, which is a 12 megapixel camera. So if you're FaceTiming someone, you'll notice that your image quality is much clearer on the 12 Pro than the previous generation of phones here. Now, the other thing we want to talk about when it comes to iPhone is simply the battery life. So the battery life on the 12 Pro, it has a decent sized battery. Now it could definitely been a bigger battery. You do get that 2815 mAh battery, which is known to last pretty good. Now if you're using it, let's say a light to a medium user on a full single charge, hypothetically, you could pretty much go through the whole day. Now, if you're more in terms of a heavier user, most likely you're going to be looking somewhere between 3/4 of the day before you do need a charge. So that's for it for the battery. Now, of course, on the 13 Pro, if you're going to be comparing, it's slightly a better battery in terms of the efficiency you get. You get about 1.5 hours when you do some testing more on the 13 Pro. Now, 1.5 hours, does that really make a difference for you? For some it does, for others it doesn't really matter, but that's something that's up to you, that you can pretty much decide what your case is. And now the other thing we want to talk about on the 12 Pro, it's going to be the storage size when you talk about the hardware. Now on the iPhone 12 Pro here, you do start with 128 gig. So is the case for your iPhone 13 Pro. Now, the 13 Pro introduces a new storage capacity option, which is that 1 terabyte, which if you really need that amount of storage, most likely you're just taking tons of videos or recording 4K videos, which in that case you're probably going to be looking for the 13 Pro here. Now, you do all have the option to get that a new Apple Cloud Plus, which allows you to really store everything in the cloud, which seems to be the way to go nowadays, especially if you're syncing across devices or simply need to access your media and data on the go. Now, really break down for you guys on the iPhone 12 Pro is that because it is such a new phone, in today's standard, this phone is going to last for some time, at least another good 5 years or so. We're going to bet on it. And with iOS 15, which we upgraded, the phone works phenomenally well. We haven't seen any lag or any issue that kind of deteriorate from not getting an iPhone 12 Pro. Now, if you're going to be really looking to do a comparison video between, or simply a worth it video, it's pretty much noted to compare with the 13 Pro. Now, talking about the 13 Pro here, this is the 13 Pro right here, holding it side by side here. Now, there's going to be a couple comparison, and probably the biggest thing coming down to the iPhone 12 Pro versus the 13 Pro are going to be a few slight improvements that Apple likes to do, which is incremental here. The first thing is probably that top notch here. If you look at it, you notice here on the 12 Pro, the notch is bigger, and on the 13 Pro, it's smaller. So that's the first thing. The next thing is ProRes. So when you side by side, you're sort of scrolling and moving around on that 120 hertz resolution, you'll notice that there is more of a buttery feel to the 13 Pro than the 12 Pro. Now, to a regular user, it might not really make much of a difference, but it's something to note about. The other thing we mentioned here, it's the battery life here. On the 13 Pro, again, because it runs a newer chip, A15 versus A14, you're getting that efficiency and being able to just last 1.5 hours longer than the 12 Pro here. Now, the other thing really with every iPhone comes down to it's the camera. It's sort of where Apple most of the time does its innovation here, is sort of the camera quality and improvements to it. And on the 13 Pro versus the 12 Pro is that cinematic mode, which is probably the most glaring, outstanding review for these two phones. And of course, between that, we mentioned the other noticeable difference between it is the storage capacity. Now, if you're looking for that 1 terabyte, only the 13 Pro has it, and that Sierra blue finish color that Apple introduced is going to be the other thing. Now, the last thing, probably the biggest thing it comes out of these phones, it's going to be the price point. Now, the 13 Pro here versus the 12 Pro here, it's going to be a price point between $2 to $250 difference here. Although Apple no longer sells or manufactures the 12 Pro because the 13 Pros are out and Apple wants you to buy the 13 Pro, you can still get this device at a discounted price, which we'll leave you guys some links in the description section. But if you look around on eBay and Amazon, you can pretty much score this phone probably up to even $300 now going into 2020. So it's $1,000 phone, but you can pretty much score it for even $700 or so. And you may not get those features with it, but definitely save you some dollars here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.